Once upon a time, the Israelites, God's chosen people, were slaves in Egypt. But with the help of Moses, God had set them free. Now Moses was leading them to a new land, a land promised by God. But Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was not happy. He realized he had lost his slaves, and his heart was hardened. Pharaoh decided to chase after the Israelites with his mighty army of chariots and soldiers. When the Israelites saw Pharaoh's army approaching, they were terrified. They cried out to Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to die in the desert?" But Moses told them, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." Then God spoke to Moses, "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water, so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his army." Moses did as God commanded. He stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. The Israelites hurried through the sea, amazed and grateful for this miracle. But Pharaoh's army was in hot pursuit, following them into the path God had made through the waters. Once the Israelites had safely crossed, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea again. At daybreak, the sea returned to its place. The waters flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. When the Israelites saw the great power the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, they feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. They celebrated their miraculous escape and sang songs of praise to God for saving them. Moses and the Israelites sang a song of praise to the Lord, thanking him for his mighty hand. They sang, "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will praise him." Miriam the prophet, Aaron's sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her with tambourines and dancing. Miriam sang to them, "Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea." After their miraculous escape, the Israelites set up camp in the desert. They were tired but grateful, knowing that God was with them and had saved them from their enemies. Moses took a moment to pray, asking God for guidance and strength for the journey ahead. He knew that the road to the Promised Land would be long, but he trusted in God's plan. The next morning, the Israelites discovered that God had provided them with manna, bread from heaven. They gathered it up and ate, knowing that God would provide for their needs on their journey. God guided the Israelites on their journey with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. These signs reminded them that God was always with them, leading them to the Promised Land. And so, with God's guidance, the Israelites continued their journey through the desert. They faced many challenges, but they knew that with faith and trust in God, they would reach the land that was promised to them.